Yeah, gentlemen, last class we were looking at some points in refrigeration, especially the pH diagrams. And today we will take up refrigerants and its effect on the environment. As you all know, environmental pollution is become something very important for the world in general, and a lot of conferences and meetings are taking place around the globe trying to reduce the effects of let us say the advances in technology which man has made and the effects it is causing on the environment. So with regards to refrigeration, what are the ill effects a refrigerating machinery, especially the refrigerant, can make to the environment, and how it is being tackled by the world in general is what I am going to discuss in a very short format today. There are some safety considerations with regards to refrigerants. They are mentioned here as a general treatise on refrigerants. They are poisonous products when exposed to high temperatures. Then we have leaking refrigerants. Their very basic nature and their low boiling points make you susceptible to freezing burns. And inhalation of larger amounts of refrigerant can cause headache, difficulty of breathing, irregular heartbeat, dizziness, irritation of the respiratory system. These are the effects the refrigerants will have on you as persons handling the refrigeration plants. Now, as far as the environment is concerned, one of the most important effects of burning of fossil fuels, that is the normal fuels we burn in our engines, releases a lot of CO2 into the Earth's atmosphere. As you all know, the basic fuel is nothing but carbon, hydrogen, maybe a little bit of oxygen and other items mixed in it. They are hydrocarbons. So hydrocarbons, when they burn, combustion being an oxidation process, will get converted into carbon dioxide and water. Water will exist as vapor. This carbon dioxide has got a very high global warming potential. Okay, the amount of remains stable for centuries, but over the last 100 years, the increased use of hydrocarbons as fuel has increased the ppm of CO2 present in our atmosphere. The significance of this change is its potential to raise the temperature of the earth through the process known as greenhouse effect. You will be hearing this word greenhouse effect quite a lot nowadays. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere tends to prevent the escape of outgoing long wave radiation from the earth to the outer space. What this does to the earth is, by preventing this long wave radiation from escaping into the outer atmosphere, the temperature around the earth and of the earth is slowly being brought up. The ill effects of this is melting of glaciers, melting of polar region ice caps, which may lead to, let us see what it does. Okay, significant effect would have profound environmental effects. Melting of polar ice caps, as I was just saying a little while ago, raising sea levels. The raised sea levels can cause probably some lands to vanish. Is that clear? I think recently there was an incident in Seychelles or Mauritius where the parliament of the country, repeat, the parliament of the country met under the sea. They were all wearing breathing apparatuses, and they went down below the sea to hold a meeting just to tell the world that if you continue using fossil fuels and releasing CO2 into the atmosphere, very soon our country will be underwater. We cannot live above water. Is that clear? So lowlands are going to vanish if this would happen. Okay. There has been a mean rise in temperature since 1850 of 1 degrees Celsius. Some scientists have predicted the rising levels of CO2 will cause temperatures to continue to increase by the middle of the 21st century, 2 to 6 degrees rise, and by which time many of the polar ice caps may have melted, sea levels would have risen, and some lands around this world would have vanished because the sea will be covering it. And there are other scientists. Scientist community is always, based on different theories propounded. So another group of scientists are saying that these effects are just being overdone and nothing will happen to the earth. This is just a normal climatic change. Now, as far as our refrigeration is concerned, we will see what its specific refrigerants are concerned. We will see what its specific problems are with regards to the environment. Ozone layer. Okay, it is there somewhere in 19 to 48 kilometers above the earth. Ozone concentrations of as much as 10 parts per million occur in the ozone layer. What is ozone? Basically, it is O3. Ozone is formed due to sun's interaction with the oxygen. Okay, over the years it has formed, and it forms a wonderful protective barrier for the earth by basically filtering out harmful ultraviolet radiations. The ozone forms there, sunlight and oxygen. Millions of years it has been forming. Naturally occurring nitrogen compounds in the atmosphere apparently have kept the ozone concentration at a fairly stable level. So nitrogen is what is keeping the ozone at a fairly stable layer throughout this time interval. Concentrations this high at ground level are dangerous to human health. In the late 70s, research scientists working in Antarctica predicted a loss of ozone in the atmosphere high above that continent. This was observed in particular seasons and then it would get covered up. So, this so-called ozone hole develops in Antarctic spring, so in the spring season, and continues for several months before closing up again. Other studies conducted using high altitude balloons and weather satellites indicated that overall percentage of sorry gentlemen, there was a little hitch with my indicator. So in the late 70s, ozone hole develops. Other studies conducted by balloons and other things indicated overall percentage in the above the Antarctic zone is decreasing. And over the Arctic regions also, people found a similar problem developing. Scientists were concerned that certain chemicals called chlorofluorocarbons, compounds of fluorine and chlorine, or halogens in general as they are called, long used as refrigerants and in aerosol spray cans, posed a possible threat to the ozone layer. These chlorine containing chemicals were released to the atmosphere and broken down by sunlight. When it reaches the upper atmosphere, sunlight tends to break it down and chlorine is released from these CFCs, and this chlorine reacts with the ozone molecules which are protecting you and creates the hole which was observed over the Antarctic. The use of CFCs in aerosols has been banned in many countries because of this particular reason. Other chemicals such as bromine halocarbons and nitrous oxides from fertilizers may also attack the ozone layer. So in 1985, finally the United Nations decided that collectively the world has to take some action to prevent this ozone layer from burning off. Otherwise, the ultraviolet rays coming down into the earth will probably cause a lot of damage to human beings, and not only that, even to the vegetation in the globe. So Montreal Protocol, it was signed by 49 countries, with the intention of phasing out of CFCs by the end of the century. 1987, a treaty for protection of ozone layer was signed and later ratified by 36 nations. A total ban during the 1990s was proposed by the European Community and in 1989 endorsed by the United Nations President. In order to monitor this ozone depletion on a global level, NASA in 1991 launched an upper atmosphere research satellite orbiting around the Earth and only tracking the depletion of ozone layer above our atmosphere. It was a special satellite sent above only to track this. May ozone variations at different altitudes. That means over different heights above the earth. How much the ozone is going to go down is being measured by this satellite, and the data sent back to the earth for people to take action. Ozone destruction, okay. Scientists began to find that human activity was having a detrimental effect. Obviously, sir, all the progress that is made in this globe to increase our life standards and provide employment to various human beings tends to have some effect on the environment, and people are now sitting up, taking notice and trying to nullify the damage that is being caused. Okay, that shields the earth. Without this gaseous layer, ozone layer, which I told you before is O3, about 40 kilometers above sea level, no life could survive on the planet. If we continue at this rate of using refrigerants and aerosol sprays, we might just lose that ozone layer, which will... Studies showed the ozone layer was being damaged by the increasing use of industrial chemicals called chlorofluorocarbons. Most of it is being used in refrigeration even now, but slowly it is being phased out. Some of them have already been phased out. Compounds of fluorine which are used in refrigeration, air conditioning, cleaning solvents, packing materials and aerosol sprays. Chlorine, a byproduct of CFCs due to the effect of sunlight, releases itself and attacks the ozone. Is that clear? By taking away one molecule to form chlorine monoxide. Chlorine monoxide then reacts with oxygen atoms to form oxygen molecules, releasing chlorine molecules that break up other molecules of ozone. So you can see, sir, this reaction is some kind of a chain reaction. The chlorine first forms chlorine monoxide, then it again reacts with the oxygen, releasing chlorine, and the chlorine will again attack the ozone. This is how the hole is formed, and these halocarbons or halogen compounds have got a very long life before it disintegrates. So it may be there for decades or hundreds of years in the atmosphere, keeping on doing the damage. So already the compounds which have been released are going to linger in the atmosphere for a long time. Unless we stop using these chemicals, the ozone layer destruction is going to go on for centuries. Okay, reduce gradually all over the globe. In 1985, however, further research revealed that a growing ozone hole above Antarctica, 50% or more above this area, was being depleted seasonally. So in seasons, particularly above the Antarctic, a huge hole was being formed. This was formed through research. A thinning of the ozone layer exposes life on Earth to excessive ultraviolet radiation. What ultraviolet radiation can do to us? It can increase skin cancer, it can cause eye cataracts, it can reduce the immune system. That means human beings tend to become more susceptible to diseases, interfere with the photosynthetic process of plants. So here you have vegetation is being damaged, so farmers are being affected. Growth of oceanic phytoplankton. These are food for many organisms that live in the sea. If these phytoplanktons are destroyed, the initial form of organisms or the initiation of the food chain is itself stopped, which will have a catastrophic or cascading effect on other matter. Because of the growing threat of these dangerous environmental effects, many nations are working towards eliminating the use of CFCs. However, very important, sir, CFCs can remain in the atmosphere for more than 100 years. So ozone destruction will continue to pose a threat for decades to come, even if we stop the usage of all CFCs today. Okay, choice of the refrigerant cannot be based exclusively on efficiency. Environmental considerations have to be taken care of. Ozone depletion potential and global warming potential are the two items being universally measured to take care of the harmful effects of these gases. Here, sir, you can see the refrigerant R11. It will remain 60 years in the atmosphere before disintegrating. Ozone depletion potential is 1. So this is the R11 is the base. Based on R11's effects, the other gases are being measured. So R11 has got 1 and 1. R12, it is also a CFC. 120 years it will remain in the atmosphere before it disintegrates totally. ODP is 0.93, global warming potential 3.2. R22. R22 is a refrigerant still in use on many ships, still existing. Only 19 years. In 19 years it will disintegrate. So the chances of an R22 causing great damage is much lesser than these two people. ODP. You can see R22 has got very less ozone depletion potential, and global warming also is very less compared to the other two above. R134A. So this is a refrigerant which is being used in our domestic refrigerators now, small plants. In fact, my house refrigerator has got R134A. Only 16 years it will exist in the atmosphere, and otherwise after that it will not have any harmful effect. But ozone depletion potential is zero. Okay, it does not deplete ozone. So this refrigerant is favored. I told you it is already being used in our house refrigerators. Global warming potential much lesser compared to any of the three above. So this can be used. And the most important fellow is R717, NH3. NH3 you all know as ammonia. Okay, less than 2 weeks disintegration, zero ozone, zero global warming. An excellent gas for refrigeration, but not being used mainly because of its toxicity. Ammonia is toxic to you. It's an irritant and it is toxic. That is the only reason it is not being used, because it poses a danger to our lives. Otherwise, it is the best known refrigerant available today for normal refrigeration purposes. I just hope this tells you about what these dangerous refrigerants that we have been using, especially the chlorofluorocarbons, are causing immense damage to the atmosphere, which in turn is causing immense damage to our own selves, destructive to the entire world in general. So it has to be avoided very soon. Is that clear? There is one small mention about total equivalent warming impact added to the global warming. The production and the use of these refrigerants are also causing some value of global warming. They will be using energy. So that along with the effect these gases itself create tells you the total equivalent warming impact. These are the main measuring parameters which the world uses to calculate environmental damage caused by these pollutants. I think I will stop here today, gentlemen. We will continue in our next class further. Thank you very much.